All right, we'll go ahead and we will call the Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Roll call, Mr. City Clerk.
Commissioner Aliman?
Present.
Commissioner Stover?
Here.
Commissioner Wagstaff?
Present.
Vice Chair Nindell?
Present.
Chair Boss?
Present. Jim, will you lead us in the pledge?
Please put your hand over your heart and repeat after me. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We could use a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Are we doing a touch screen or are we just going to do roll voice?
It's on your screen.
Is it?
Should pop up.
Okay, there we go. So whoever moved it.
Chris, you gotta press move. Yeah.
And then whoever seconded it. Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Next item is our minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of our November 14th meeting. Unless there's any modification, changes, and et cetera, anything like that you'd like to do. Otherwise, we'll do a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 14th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All right.
Motion passes with Mary Kate Stover abstaining.
Okay. Public comments. Do we have any public comments?
No, we do not, sir.
We do not. Okay. Then we will move right on into our public hearings. Item number one is GHA Enterprises, development permit number 23-7. Staff.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, good evening, and Commissioner, staff is requesting that this item be continued to a date certain of January 23rd, 2024, to allow the applicant time to provide additional information on the tract map.
Okay. We don't really need a motion for that, do we? No.
You
Okay.
do a motion second to continue.
We do? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get a motion.
So I'll make a motion for the continuance of item, the date certain of January 23rd, 2024, to allow for additional time for work with the applicant.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Mr. Aliman? Motion passes unanimously.
All right. We will see that item at our meeting in January. Next item is development permit number 23-6. Staff?
Okay. Good evening. Just a little bit of background on this case. So this is a car wash facility at the Stater Brothers Shopping Center. It has not been operational for a period of 5 years. That's when the last business license was in effect. In 2020, with the general plan update, the area was zoned mixed-use corridor, and the zoning text did not permit a car wash within the district. However, under Chapter 17-124, Nonconforming Structures and Uses, that does permit a nonconforming use within a center to be reinstated with a public hearing. That's why we're here this evening. This is an aerial photo. As I mentioned, the car wash is in the upper northeast corner of the Stater Brothers Shopping Center with access off of Hacienda Avenue as well as through the travel aisles within the shopping center. This is a site plan of the facility that makes up the car wash. There's 3 structures, one 8-bay building for washing and 2 smaller structures, a 4-bay building and a 2-bay building for drying and vacuuming. This is the elevation of the structure for the washing facility. And then these are photographs taken fairly recently, about a week ago, of the facility. So the applicant is proposing to reopen the car wash, giving the structure a fresh coat of paint, cleaning up the facility, installing new washing equipment and lighting. The hours of operation are proposed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. There will be an on-site attendant present during those hours. So staff is recommending approval to reinstate the car wash and find the project categorically exempt from CEQA per section 15301A existing facilities. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. We will start that. Any commissioners have any questions? None? All right. Then we will go ahead and open the public hearing, take testimony from the applicant. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, everybody. My name Rasim Halloum. We start business in the car wash in Coachella Valley since 2001. And we start in old location in Indio called Indio Car Wash. And we're running this business for almost 14 years. And after that, we built another car wash. We sold the first one, and we built another one by Highway 111 in Indio called KR Car Wash. And we have very good reputation there with the city of Indio. And if you guys go in the online, you see our reputation when the customer talk about us. Also, we have very good reputation with the city of Indio, the staff, the council membership, or everybody. And we see this location here in Desert Hot Spring, and we love to open this kind of business in the Desert Hot Spring. And it's a good idea to have in the city different car washes. We have one by Quick Walk Car Wash. This is drive-through, but in the another side, a lot of people, in my experience, like to wash own car by hand wash. And this is the Coin Car Wash. We can do this kind of business, and it's very economy pricing, and the people come to wash his car, dry it, and vacuum it. You know what I mean? And it's very good idea to have 2 different washes in the same area. And I hope, and you guys can approve it to see or to be part of the city of Desert Hot Spring. Any question?
All right. No, it's not yet for us. We are now into any public testimony on this item, whether in favor, opposed, or neutral. Yes, sir.
My name is Mark Dehansky.
Oh, why don't you
Please
come
enter-
up to the podium and sir, if you can step
Sorry
aside.
about that. I'm not trying to steal his limelight or anything. I don't know the gentleman.
Okay.
My name is Martin Dehansky. I've lived on Hacienda since 1997. Me and my dog Elvis, we go, and let me tell you something. You guys make the decisions here. And I agree with him about having 2 different car washes. I pray for the city of Desert Hot Springs. I pray for you guys. You know what I really like to see? I'd like to see new businesses like his come to Desert Hot Springs, because I believe our city could be great, like Palm Desert, La Quinta, Bermuda Dunes. I really believe that, because let's be honest here, we all get a bad rap every single time. Every single time whenever someone says, where do you live? And I've lived in my house since 97, and unfortunately, it's not gotten good. It's gotten worse, and so like this. And I walk my dog Elvis every morning and every night by his car wash. It might have been 5 years ago that it's not been running, but I've not seen that car wash running since 97. I've seen it run a couple of times, yes. When me and my dog Elvis would walk by the car wash, we would see the homeless there, camping out there and everything else, and doing a lot of cooking, we'll say, and so like this. What I'm afraid of myself is this is a public area. This is by a garage. This is by several restaurants. This is by Stater Brothers and so like this. I think of the time when this thing was abandoned, and I give the man credit. I don't know him personally, but he wants to start a business. He wants to make money. I give him a lot of credit, 100%. But I also think of the safety of that area. I think of the children who comes there and goes shopping at Wingstop or goes shop with their mom and dad at Stater Brothers, or you want to even go to Carl's Jr. I think of the safety of our children, and that's what I think about, because his lights are so bright, they light up my front yard. And I think that's wonderful. That's my honest opinion. But I really hope you guys approve it. Like I said, you guys got to make the hard decisions. I don't, and everything else. And I think it would be great to have a car wash right around, not even a block from my house. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any others?
No, we do not, sir.
We do not, okay. Opportunity for the applicant to make a closing comment or a rebuttal, then we'll close the public hearing afterwards.
That's just 1 minute, because when you see this location, before we start remodel it, was very bad area for the homeless, and was dirty and was everywhere there. And if you guys can go and just drive around, you see a huge difference between like 2 months ago and this month from now.
Right.
And we like you guys approve it if possible.
Okay. All right, we will go ahead and close the public hearing and planning commission discussion.
Sure.
Do you have some items?
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question for the applicant. Personally, I support what you're bringing before us. I think it looks great. But I would love also to see a refreshing of the landscaping around the area. Would you be willing to plant those planters around the area as a part of the conditions to approval?
Yes, if needed, yes, we can do that. Yes.
Are there any other comments? Okay. I've been here long enough in the town when it was operational, and then when it hasn't been. And I've seen the ongoing issue of it being dark, shut down, homeless people, drug activity, trash dumped over there, including, back in the area. And, it's, I look at it as an opportunity. I agree with you. I think that we do need a diverse form of car wash. We don't really have that over here. And so this adds just a different style because, like you said, many people, they want to wash and wax their own car, but they can't do it at their apartment complex, or they can't do it at their townhome or where they live just because of the way it's designed. So it does meet an amenity that our town needs, and so I appreciate that. If we don't have any other comments, we would take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition of the applicant refreshing the landscaping around the property.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Going once? No? All right, then we will vote.
It got confused, I think. Computer.
Did you mean to say?
I was going to say I moved, but
Motion passes unanimously.
I don't know what happened on the computer.
That's okay. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Welcome
I
to
appreciate
Desert
you.
Hot Springs, sir, and thank you for investing in our town.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't know what I did, Danny, sorry. No, that's all right. Okay. I don't know, I was trying to press the button.
All right. Item number 3, GHA Enterprises, Inc., design review number 23-2. Staff?
Good evening again. A little bit of background on this project as well. In 2007, the original applicant, C-Star Communities, received approval for general plan amendment, zoning map amendment, a tentative tract map, and a specific plan for a private 55 and over community of 115 single-family residents. That was known as Aventura Palms 2, the specific plan. In January 2022, the applicant, GHA, received approval from City Council to amend the original approved specific plan to be known as Rancho Descanso and to no longer have age restrictions for the residents. So on October 16, 2023, GHA submitted an application for design review to add an additional architectural style to the options already approved in the development. So this is an aerial view of the Rancho Descanso project. You can see it's at the southwest corner of Camino Campesino and Avenidas Descanso. Not sure I'm pronouncing that all properly. This is all the critical dates that I just gave you the background on. As mentioned, this request before you is only to add a new architectural style for a modern contemporary elevation type C to the development. So this is an example of the approved elevations in the specific plan amendment. These will still be integrated into the development throughout the development. And shown here are the proposed additional elevation types for the project. This table depicts the original approved floor plans and square footages for the development. None of those are changing. The only change is the added type C elevation option. So on January 18, 2022, City Council approved the original project and in doing so adopted a mitigated negative declaration. A new M&D is not required if there are no significant changes to the original approved project. The Planning Commission only needs to find the request is consistent with the original M&D. So the staff recommends approval of the design review 23-2 to add a new architectural style to the Rancho Descanso specific plan, subject to the conditions of approval and findings, and finds the project category exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15162A. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from commissioners? All right, then we will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant here?
I do not see the applicant in the room now.
See the applicant here, okay. Do we have any public testimony on this one?
I believe we have one, sir.
No, that was for number 4. Yeah, not for this one. Okay, so we don't have any of that. Then we will close the public hearing and either further discussion and or a motion on this item.
Well, I like the designs, and I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is that a motion?
I move that we approve.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a second?
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. And item number 4, environmental number 23-1, conditional use permit number 22-2. Staff?
This is a 9.1 acre property located on the southwest corner of Palm Drive and Clare Avenue. The property has dual zoning designations with commercial general zoning front in Palm Drive and commercial business park zoning on the back half of the property. The site plan before you depicts the 3 commercial pads along Palm Drive with the self-storage facility to the west. The self-storage facility requires a conditional use permit. So access to the project is via 2 entrances on Palm Drive and 3 on Clare Avenue with an ingress on Cactus Drive. The project is conditioned to install a traffic signal at Palm Drive and Clare Avenue. Of course, this is when the warrants are met for that. The front portion of the property is commercial restaurant buildings. What's being proposed is 3 buildings totaling approximately 8,500 square feet, 1 drive-through restaurant and 2 freestanding restaurants. The drive-through restaurant would have stacking for 6 vehicles. Each restaurant will also have an outdoor dining area. There are a total of 69 parking stalls that are provided, and the applicant has proposed a public art installation, which I'll dub acrylic bubbles along the frontage of Palm Drive. The back portion and rear portion is a self-storage facility. It will consist of 460 self-storage units totaling approximately 86,935 square feet. It will also include a 2-story administration building as part of the conditioned storage space, and there's room for 68 covered vehicle spaces also planned under a structure with solar panels. So this is the perspective of the development looking west. Additional perspectives of the clockwise of the art installation, the 3 commercial pads, the storage facilities, and a view down Clare Avenue. Additional perspectives of the interior with the retail pads and also the storage facility. As far as landscaping, the applicant has provided a plan that depicted landscaping planters along Palm Drive, as well as a landscaping planting strip along Clare Avenue with drought-tolerant desert landscape materials. On the architecture side, the applicant has proposed for both the self-storage buildings and the restaurants, contemporary sort of grays and whites colors, and for the restaurants, it would be accompanied with bright accent colors for the commercial buildings. This is elevation of the restaurants as well as the floor plan. And an elevation for the storage facility as well. So a draft mitigated negative declaration and monitoring plan was prepared in accordance with the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, and the study was peer reviewed by the city's peer review consultant. The recommendation is to adopt the mitigated negative declaration and monitoring plan ENV 23-1 and approve conditional use permit 22-2 for the development of 3 commercial pads and a self-storage facility subject to the conditions of approval and findings. And I would just note that this project has been in the process for a while. It came in back in 2022. I think they started much earlier than that in the planning stages. So obviously over time, our standards have changed in that period. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and I believe the applicant is here along with the environmental consultant if needed.
Okay, first up, questions of staff from the commission. Going down this way, going off this way. Anybody? Okay.
Okay, questions. Where are the trash enclosures for the restaurants?
So they would be provided at the time that the site plan came in for each restaurant. At this point, I do not believe the applicant has identified specific tenants for the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So when they come in, that additional detail will be provided.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Along with the self-storage facility.
Okay. And I mean, I have concern when I'm looking at these plans because they're not really plans, it's just a concept, it's just rectangles. And so we don't really have the information that we need to make a decision, I feel. But when I'm looking at the restaurants and the Plot A in particular, and I see development A1, A2, and A3, and I see them on a plan, and they're different sizes and different configurations, but then when I look at the plan for the different restaurants, they're exactly the same, and they're all showing as a drive-through, which they're not on the plan. And so the plans are not jiving for me at all on this project. Is there any explanation for why these plans don't make sense?
Can you bring up the site plan, back the presentation? The drive-through restaurant is to the upper north of the site?
Correct, in A1.
Right.
But then A2 and A3 are meant to be a different, if you go back a page, they're smaller, but they have the exact same floor plan when I'm looking at the floor plan. You see on this drawing, the overview, parcel A, A1 is a larger drive-through restaurant, A2 and A3 are similarly smaller sized restaurants, and yet when I look at the floor plans, it's the exact same floor plan for all three, and all three are shown as drive-through restaurants of the larger variety. So I don't know how I can make an educated decision when I'm not being shown anything that resembles reality.
So the A1, the restaurant to the top north, is the only one proposed with a drive-through at this point. It does have a different floor plan. The A2 and A3 have very similar floor plans at this point, but they are not proposed with drive-throughs, just parking.
It's not. That's not how it is shown on the document that I reviewed. In fact, when I look at the conceptual plan for restaurants A2 and A3, it is the exact same floor plan as A1.
It's different, and I don't know if we can bring it up in the actual staff report. It would take a minute or two, but.
So while he's attempting to do that, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Oh, yeah, but. Yes, there is, but I think we can take our time.
Okay.
It's like page 56 in the staff. Roughly. I know. I know. Okay. Yeah, a little further down, maybe. Oh, no, there it is. I know, but if there should be a floor plan to the right if you scoot over the bottom bar and up from there. Whoa. Oh, God.
There you go.
Okay. Now that's A1. Okay, so that is
Right.
A1, and you can see the delivery window and the pay window on the top, which would be the northern end of the project. Now, if you scroll down to the next page, it should be the A2, A3 floor plan, and it's exactly the same. Now you see there the A2, A3, we're also showing a delivery window, a pay window, and a drive-through window. It's the exact same floor plan.
Yep.
Okay, go down to A2 then. No, let's see, because it's the same one. No, it's up there, it's up above. It's the same one because it's the same one. It's the same one because it's the same one, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Elevation B1 floor plan.
You are correct, it is the same. Yeah, even though there's no drive-through window on A2 and A3, it is showing the same floor plan with the drive-through window.
Right, okay, so I guess my question is, how are we to make an educated decision about this project if we don't actually have an accurate plan to go from? And also if it doesn't seem to be in compliance with Chapter 17 of the zoning ordinance?
Right. So this project did come in before the changes to the landscaping ordinance and also the parking ordinance. But I have talked with the applicant, and they're willing to meet any of the current standards that have been passed, especially through the Title 17 work that we did over the summer.
Okay. And as far as the arrangement of the chairs and things of that, isn't that really kind of contingent on what type of restaurant they're going to go in there?
That's
And how
correct.
they're going to do that?
Yes, the applicant doesn't have a firm commitment yet
Right.
on the restaurants, so that floor plan will evolve a bit as a tenant is pinned down for each of the restaurants.
But I'm concerned because we're just supposed to take it on faith that the applicant will comply with the current zoning code. It's just completely on faith. I'm not prepared to go completely on faith. I don't know this applicant. It's a large project. It's a huge piece of real estate in our town, and I'd like to see it in compliance before I say yes. I mean, we worked on these landscape and parking issues starting a year ago, so that's not new, really, even though it just finally became, the code.
Correct, over the summer it did.
Right. We adopted it then, but, they did submit the application. They submitted it the way it was supposed to be. They submitted it prior to the changes of the code. And so they're adhered to what code they were required to before they came to where we're at today. If I'm hearing correctly, that they're willing to adopt or adapt their plans to what the new code is, and work with staff on the coordination of the additional landscape and that kind of thing. Is that?
That's correct, but I'll let the applicant speak for
Okay,
themselves.
so why don't we, if we can, all right, so we've got that. Let's, we continue on with some questions from planning, our planning commissioners, and then we can open the public hearing, and then we can have the applicant address some of these as well. So is there any other comments?
I mean, I guess I'll just go down the list.
This is the time to do it.
Okay. My concerns with this project include the plans are not complete, nor are they representational of reality. My second concern is, why in one sentence is it a 9.1 acre project, in the next sentence it's 10.26 acres? I mean, if we want to get down into the code, I don't believe that this does comply with our zoning ordinance in as far as Chapter 17.48.050, configuration and number of ADA parking spots. 17.48.040, the number of parking spots, 17.48.020F, 15% of net parking spaces should be landscaped area. 17.12.300, Section D, there should be trees throughout the parking lot, in between parking spaces and so forth, so that we have shade to help mitigate the heat island effect. Chapter 17.12.100, the width and curve of the drive-through for safety, and also the configuration of the drive-through just seems bass-backwards to me. And 17.12.290, which is about parking and configuration of parking. All of that needs to be addressed and is not. I don't see this project as being compatible with future development because it's not up to our current standard or our standard going forward. And I don't believe that this project is needed. There are 10 fast food restaurants within 1 mile of this project and 3 additional fast food restaurants. I think you're going to have a hard time renting them out. And I hate to see more empty retail just sitting in Desert Hot Springs. That's my concerns.
Okay. Were there any other commissioner comments? If not, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll open the public hearing. Testimony from the applicant. You've heard a few items here. Maybe you can address some of the items that the commissioner brought up.
In attendance is our environmental consultant as well as one of the owners. Possibly I can speak to the fast food and quick service retail pads, of course, are many times conditioned upon the national tenant. They have a pre-established floor plan. So yes, to go to the commissioner's questions, they are a bit conceptual. It appears that we did have an error between A1, A2, and A3. We're certainly willing to comply with A1 and correct it and make that a condition. As far as the fast food retail demand, we're dealing with 3 national tenants and 2 locals. So, and we have for the past 2 years. So, we would like to, thank staff for their work. We've been working on the project quite a while, and basically the new parking requirements, new landscaping requirements, of course, we're willing to comply with, make that a condition. So, I'm willing to answer any other questions I can, or if I direct it to the owner or the environmental consultant.
Question?
Yes.
I have a question. How would you propose to create 15% landscaping, which if you're looking at 57,808 square feet of parking, 15% of that would be 8,671 square feet of landscaping. You're currently at about 3,000 square feet of landscaping. Where do you propose to find that other 5,000 square feet of landscaping?
Again, I talked briefly to the architect this morning, and they said they could do that on site. I'm not qualified to tell you exactly where, but we're confident that we could accept the condition of that landscaping. Otherwise, we can't move forward.
I mean, one possible solution that I was looking at as a suggestion, but of course I'm not a designer or an architect either. But I don't like the visual of being on Palm Drive and looking back at a big wall of the storage facility behind the quick serve restaurants. There could be a removal of some of that storage and a creation of a vegetative strip or even a linear park along that, which I think is a road, that access way at the back of Lot A. Is that a road or is that?
Those are driveways.
It's a driveway.
Yeah, it's a common easement driveway. We're going to be applying for a parcel map for the 3 parcels in front and the remainder. So that's to be a common easement shared driveway.
Mm-hmm. And
So to answer your question, we found that in the self-storage facilities, we can landscape with rather large bushes in front of the wall. And of course, they're a split stone wall to begin with. So we don't think it has a detrimental effect on what the quick service retail people would be looking at all, as opposed to some of the other developments that are on Palm Drive.
Another concern I have is with the drive-through on Claire.
Yes?
And I see that you have the entrance to the drive-through coming in on the west end of Lot A on Claire
Yes?
and exiting on the eastern end of that Lot A. My concern about traffic flow is that there will be cars that are turning onto Claire and backing up into that intersection as they're trying to get into the driveway. And is there a way that you could switch that configuration so that if there is an extra stack up of cars, they're on Claire as opposed to backing onto Palm Drive? Does that make sense?
Well, I think our design was initially intended to back any stacking on Claire Drive. We don't think we could make the improvements necessary to stack cars on Palm Drive, so.
don't want it.
Yeah, so we couldn't. So we thought, in working with staff, that was sufficient stacking with the way it was designed to come off of Claire. If that answers your question, I hope it does.
It answers my question, but it doesn't really answer the problem. Because when I'm looking at that driveway, it's about, and like I said, there's not really like numbers and measurements so much on these plans, so it's hard, I'm just eyeballing it. But it looks to me as though that driveway is about 20 feet from the Palm Drive intersection.
Oh, I don't think it could be that short. I'm not looking at the plans,
It's
but they're all
about 2
scaled
car
as well.
lengths. There's a parking spot and a planter, so maybe it's 35 feet. I don't know. If the setback is 25 feet, I guess it's closer to 35 feet. So a couple of car lengths. And I'm just wondering, is it possible to move the ingress to the western side, the western driveway, and the out on the eastern side, so that there's not that backup of traffic there?
Again, I don't know that I can speak to that, as not being the designer. Again, we thought we had adequate stacking, so we'd have to take a look at that. And of course, obviously, the code will call for the reasonable stacking as well, so we're willing to, condition that as well.
And then Lot A3, the restaurant number A3, I don't know how you're going to rent that one. There's no ingress or egress to that lot other than going all the way around. And, I think that lot is in danger of just sitting vacant because it's not as accessible as the other two.
That hasn't been our input from our potential tenants, so we're comfortable with that building, and we don't want to build buildings that stand empty,
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Nope.
I'm good.
All right, then we will, we're now public testimony from people.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have a speaker request, Mr. Russell Betts.
Thank you, commissioners, chair, and staff. So I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm trying to sort out what it is that you're approving and what you're not. And from this, I don't think you can see, from these plans that have been submitted, these aren't architectural plans that are allowing you to see exactly what's taking place. The car stacking is represented by dashes. Typically, those would be drawn as cars on proper architectural plans, and you would see the exact stacking. The first thing I noticed was when you put a map up on the screen showing the zoning, it appeared to me that the zoning was about 50% of the lot was commercial, another 50% was retail, or whatever it is, industrial, whatever you call it. But when I'm looking at these plans here, it looks like it's 25-75. That part of the, what do you call it, the retail commercial is being taken up by the self-storage. So I don't know if that's something you need to check and find out, but I just noticed it as I sat down here. It wasn't part of my original comments. We can't see what's taking place on Palm Drive. There's no deceleration lane shown. Can't see exactly what the setbacks are. There's no dimensions on here. So, for example, this is a long stretch of Palm Drive, and at some point in time with the traffic going on, we may need to take that to an extra lane. Excuse me, to an extra lane. And if you don't have the setback to accommodate that, maybe you take away some landscaping to do that, and it gets a little tighter on the landscape or whatever, but nobody can see what's going on in these plans. And that's something this commission needs to take into account when a new development comes in. What's going to happen if somebody's going down Palm Drive and they want to turn into this place? Now that person stops, we've all seen it. They're holding up traffic because the person's taken too long to pull in. And I think you have a reasonable point on, if somebody comes down Palm Drive to turn in to go to this drive-through restaurant, they're going to turn, and now they're immediately crossing traffic to go into this drive-through with 6 cars. And I don't know of a drive-through that I've seen lately that only had 6 cars in it. It's more like 16. If it's in and out or a Chick-fil-A, it's 30 or 40. But what I'm seeing here is I just don't see anything that can tell me that you're approving anything other than something that's called conceptual. Now, there was a day here in Desert Hot Springs when plans came to the Planning Commission and they were complete, full architectural plans. And then when they came through for submittal, the submittal was deemed complete because it met the checklist to determine that the project was complete and that all the conditions were there. You as commissioner being asked to approve something, well, kind of, sort of, you can't really see what you're approving. Nobody can tell me what the treatment is, for example, the sidewalk on Palm Drive. Is it gutter, curb, sidewalk? Or is it gutter, curb, planter, sidewalk? Is it a 3-foot sidewalk? Is it a 4-foot? Is it a 10-foot? Other cities down valley have nice, wide, meandering sidewalks. And in fact, if you go to, I'm getting older, I was just thinking of it, the drive-through my grandson and I always go through, you can't pull in like you're showing here. It's, you go in the parking lot, go around, and all your traffic is contained inside the parking lot to get in and out of you don't have drive-through traffic entering immediately from a street. So, but again, without dimensions, it's really hard to tell what's going on here. What are the plans for Clare Avenue? Is it a half street or is it a full street? Half street would be to the center line, a little bit beyond, both curb, gutter, sidewalk, landscaping on one side but not on the other. Is there a condition here that they're going to do a full street? Typically they aren't, but if traffic conditions are such, you can require that if you want to. But here you can't see what you're approving. Is there, to the south of this project, is that just a wall and those exits, those roads, those driveways just terminate there in a dead end? I can't tell what's going on here. There was a time when Planning Commission before you said, well, we don't know what we want that cell tower to look like, but just go ahead and staff work it out. And we all had the famous lampshade cell tower over there on Little Morongo. And when it came back to everybody laughing at, what got worked out for a cell tower, it wasn't coming back on the people who designed it and approved it. It came back on the Planning Commission and the council. Why did you idiots allow a cell tower that looked like a lampshade? Well, you didn't allow a cell tower that looked like a lampshade. If you'd seen a cell tower that looked like a lampshade, you would have said no. If you're looking at plans here that you can't tell what they look like, you have no idea what the end result is going to be. Now, from the public perspective, if I was a resident bordering this, I would want to see certain things like drainage. Where's the catch basin? Not shown here. Where are the dumpsters going to be located? Are they going to be on the wall on the other side of me to my property? I want to know where those are going to be. Now, our code says dumpsters are supposed to be enclosed, have enclosures, and be, properly constructed. But it's up to you to decide where those go. And if I could see on these plans where those are going to go, and I could see that they're going to be located off next to somebody's house, if that was the case here, the public deserves the opportunity to come in here and be able to weigh in on that. Public can't weigh in on anything because there's nothing here for the public to see. So effectively what's going to happen is you're going to pass this off to staff to design it, and is it ever going to come back to this commission? Now, if you are being asked to accept this conditionally, but with the instructions that the final plans come back to the Planning Commission for a review and approval, that would be fine. Because now the developer would say, okay, conceptually, generally speaking, they're in agreement with this, but the plans are going to come back so that certain things that we want to see, we see. Maybe I'm too much of a government wonk, but I spend time watching other cities' Planning Commission meetings. Palm Springs, for example, would never, ever accept what you've been given here from staff. They'd say, look, we've told you, they get into details such as trees and shade. And I've seen them say, look, send these back, come back in 2 weeks. You didn't show us the shade that we want to see, send it back and come back. And the question always comes up, well, were you delaying a project? And they say, we didn't delay it, you did, bring us what we want to see. So I've noticed a habit on this Planning Commission of deferring stuff that I believe is your charge. And there's an internal debate at City Hall about that, whether or not it's your charge or their charge. But I'm firmly believing that you guys have responsibility to look at this stuff and decide what's the design going to be. What do you want the sidewalk on Palm to be? What do you want the landscaping to look like? This is wholly deficient on any type of plan. And I believe, and I'll wrap this up, that there's a checklist, and you go find it, and it says things are supposed to meet this checklist, and once they meet that checklist, then they come to the Planning Commission. Items on that checklist have not been met. We used to have an architectural review committee that would serve to help the applicant kind of get an idea of, you know, how their plan was going to go. I'm appreciative of the fact that it can cost a lot of money to drop a set of plans and come here and not know if your project is going to be approved. But there's no guarantee until you actually get the Planning Commission saying, yes, we approve, that your project's approved. So I could look at this all day long, and we don't have all day. I'm really happy that there's not a 3-minute limit on public hearings, because I can't go 3 minutes anymore. But I just think that you guys need to ask for more on this than what you're seeing here. And if we're driving down Palm Drive and there's no deceleration lane and you've just left that up to staff and there's a traffic jam, I'm going to step back up this podium and say, hey, you guys, guess what? You messed up, okay? You didn't require a deceleration lane. So if you can tell me where that deceleration lane is going to be on here, great. If you can see that, great. Maybe there's some plans included in this. I studied that packet today and I didn't see them. I probably got more than I want to say, but I want excellence around here. I want our city to look like other cities, and I want you guys to make sure that that happens. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Opportunity for the applicant to rebuttal or make any other comments based on what you've kind of heard here today.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll defer to staff on some of the questions they had because we've been through it, but item 3 of the conditions indicated we would provide a parking study that evidence that supported reduced off-street parking, so that was one. Item number 46 says that developers should construct half-street improvements on Clare, and it details that they're going to be, I believe, 30 feet minimum. It talks about the catch basins, the fully landscaped, the irrigated, and the cross section. So those are the 2 questions I'm not trying to answer it for staff, but that's the 2 that immediately come up. And we had a full traffic study done, which staff reviewed and made part of the conditions of approval regarding the need for acceleration, deceleration lanes. So that's all I'd say. Thank you.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, I'd just add they're conditioned to build the full sections of the street per our general plan. So however the street section is identified in the general plan, that would be what they're required to do.
Okay. And that's on Palm?
It's on Palm and Clare.
Okay. All right. We will go ahead and close the public hearing. Planning Commission discussion and or motion.
I don't see how, do you guys feel comfortable planning, passing through a project that we don't actually have plans on like this? Is this something you're comfortable with, Leroy?
I agree on some things that Russell has said, and I disagree on some. But no, I don't.
Jim, how do you feel
Well,
about?
we're not going to go round table like that. This is a time.
This is a conversation about how we feel
No, this
as
is
planning
no,
commissioners.
No, it's not. This is a time where planning commission discusses what you've got. And, we're not going to be pulling each other and doing silly things like that. Not going to allow that to happen as chairman. This is where if you have conversation and you want to talk about something, that's fine, but we're not going to start pulling different aspects of that.
Isn't conversation asking
No.
questions and answering questions? I thought that's
No,
a conversation.
It's not. It's, what do individuals have? Do they have comments? Is there something here that they want to bring? Yeah, it's not a debate. Is there something you want to talk about that you go, I don't like this, or I really like this, or I like what they did, or I'd like to have this, or I'd like to have it extended, or whatever it may be? That's what this time is for.
Okay, I'm personally not comfortable putting through, approving a project that doesn't have specific plans and does not meet, does not comply with our zoning ordinance in so many different ways, or is not compatible with our future development, and I would debate is not needed in the area. But I think that this plan is incomplete.
Okay?
I would move to deny because the plans are incomplete.
So, Mr. Chairman, one thing I might suggest is, because they still haven't identified a tenant, that when a tenant is identified, those structures would come back to you for design review.
Okay.
I'm just curious how anybody could, on this panel, could vote for a project where we don't even know the dimensions of the building.
Anybody else? All right.
So I'd like to move to deny the project because it does not meet the zoning ordinance and it's not compatible with future development. That's the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, motion dies due to a lack of a second. So I'll just make a few comments. I noticed, I saw the solar aspect that was being done. I saw that you were doing a traffic light at Claire, at Palm and Claire, and then the second, or what was it, off of Palm and Dillon, the second westbound lane, they were going to do another left-hand turn lane there, so some additional things. I tend to agree with the fact that I think it kind of looked a little bit like a little too much concrete, jungle-ish kind of thing in a sense. And, but if I'm hearing correctly, they agreed to go at least to what our code requires, in reference to that, including with the general plan on the street access stuff. And if they come back to us with whatever tenants they get, then we can kind of go over, because I know each tenant has, like In-N-Out has a very specific design that they want. If we want something that's there, and all the others. I mean, I can see a lot of area here that I would encourage to be landscaped as part of that. I'm not concerned about what type of restaurants go in there. We don't make that decision. The market makes that decision. Public needs to be educated on that. I mean, they come to the community as the community expands, grows, does whatever, and what their market analysis do. So, I mean, I think this opens up, looks like a couple of them, all three of them have some outdoor dining area as well.
Maybe.
Which is nice. I personally, I'm not really opposed to this project. I would like to see more landscape, was what the thing. I'd like to, I do agree with the configuration of the drive-through at the top up there, of the concern that was brought up. If they're making an immediate left-hand turn there, that could back up onto Palm, and maybe it should come off the backside and kind of work its way out, maybe reconfigure that drive-through. If there's a way to do something with that. We don't need, unfortunately, and I don't mean to be picking on In-N-Out, but unfortunately, we've seen many of those where they've got, the lines are backed up and they're out on the main highway, or their people are backed up on that, and it's causing that. And I could see that being a potential problem. But I mean, if we could switch, the drive-through entry point and exit point there, so people have to drive into the project to get to that location versus turning right here, because everyone's going to want to turn left to go in there. And then I can just see that backing up into Palm, which is going to be a problem there. The additional landscape was that, those were coming. So those were some of the concerns that I had. I'm okay with the conceptual thing because I simply understand the way the market is. We're not really going to know till we get a business that comes here, and then those are going to come back to us anyways. So I'm okay with that. Otherwise, I didn't have any other issues. Anybody? Chris, Jim, Leroy? Okay. Hearing no other comments, does anybody have a suggested motion?
I'm going to move to continue until we can see actual plans with actual measurements on them.
I'll second that.
Okay. And with that, and I don't have a problem with that. So with that, would you amend yours to your motion to say, I got this thing in my face, to move the driveway or the entryway to the drive-in towards the back, and make sure that when the tenants come into each unit, that they come back for planning commission approval, and that it adheres to our current code that we adopted?
Yeah, I would say I would be happy to approve this project if I see it coming back over my desk with actual measurements, with actual, and in compliance with our current Chapter 17. I'd be happy to approve the project at that time. But until such time that I can actually see that, I'm not prepared to do that, and that's why I'm moving to continue until such time as that can be determined.
And I think we understand that. Those were a couple of friendly amendments to your motion. So are you accepting those to your motion?
Sure.
Okay. Leroy, you as well, since you seconded it? Yes. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional discussion? Dan, do you know what we're doing?
Yeah, it's all on record, and it's already up for the second for you guys
Okay.
to vote.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I can be clear, I'm sorry. It is a motion to continue. What was the amendment? Forgive me. I was paying attention. I just didn't follow the exact wording. Motion to continue with what? It's my question.
Okay, it was on the drive-through, the entry point to the drive-through is in the back side, not the front side.
Thank you.
That when tenants are identified, and then that development plan for that building comes back to us for approval. So each one of the tenants, they'd come back to us and we would approve the design of what's being proposed.
I mean, if I could just, so instead of approval, would it be for consideration?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then that they adhere to the code standards that we adopted more recently.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate
Okay.
the clarification.
All right. Questions? Nothing? Did we already vote?
We already voted.
Okay. We're all
Two
good.
of you have not.
Oh,
Did I vote?
did I vote? Yeah.
So what now?
What are we voting on?
So this is going to come back to us
Continue it until they fix it.
when they have some more detailed plans. and then they're going to switch the driveway around for the drive-through. They're going to adhere to some Chapter 17 requirements, so the plans would come back with those. And then, in addition to that, when a tenant comes back or is coming to the different buildings, that would come back to Planning Commission for approval. So in other words, if it's, let's say,
Motion passes unanimously.
all right. Okay, what do we got next? Chair and Planning Commission member reports. Leroy, you got anything? Jim? Okay.
No.
Chris? All right. Mr. Community Development Director?
There are just a couple of updates, just a reminder about the Planning Commissioners Academy. That's March 6th through 8th in Long Beach. So if you're interested in attending, please reach out to the city clerk's office to get you registered. Also, a couple of things that will be sort of turning on January 2024 when we make some changes to our system that we use to process building permits. So we have integrated the fire department reviews within the OpenGov system, so you'll be able to do that complete workflow within the system rather than having to go out to a county system and then come back in. And then we'll also take the fees as well for county fire and remit them to the county fire department. The other change that happens January 1, 2024 is septic systems would be reviewed by the Riverside County Department of Environmental Health rather than internally. They are able to review larger systems and also have the expertise for monitoring, testing, reporting, that sort of thing. And then finally, I would just like to wish everyone a joyful and safe holiday season, and we will see you in the new year, and specifically the January 23rd.
Right, so the normal second weekend of the month is not, or second Tuesday is not what we're doing it, but the 23rd.
That's correct.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, we're adjourned.